Call the Shakopee City Council meeting to order for June 17, 2025. And would the clerk please take roll?
Councilmember Delaney. Here. Councilmember Whiting. Here. Councilmember Contreras.
Here.
Councilmember Lara. Here. Mayor Layton.
Here. Item number 3, if you join us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to item number 4, I'd just like to take a moment of silence and recognition of Representative Portman and her family, and Senator Botman and his family, and all their friends. Tragic event. Violence is not good. It's okay. Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, there was just one addition that I had notified council about yesterday, and that is the inclusion of 5.0, a modification of the safer grant application that has been properly noticed, and I sent that to all of you yesterday for email, and you have the resolution itself in front of you.
That's a FEMA application for a grant for public safety, correct?
Correct, that's correct, sir. No other changes.
Mr. Whiting?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented with no new modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Council Contreras seconds the motion. So we've added 5.0 grant application. Is there any discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Consent agenda, item number 5. We would suggest, unless there's discussion to be had, that 5.0, the FEMA grant application could be on consent. Mr. Bellini?
So I'm just asking for 5 in and 5 in, is for questions?
M and N?
Right.
N. Okay. Any other changes? Council plan is about adding 5.0 to consent?
Actually, so that's what I modified the agenda for.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda, so I thought we put it on the agenda first. It wasn't on the agenda. And then,
I would suggest moving it and make that motion to move it to the consent.
okay.
Second.
All right. So we do have a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing 5M, 5N by Councilor Delaney, and adding 5.0. We all on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Reynolds, would you like to read the consent agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. These are the consent agenda items for Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. 5A is the monthly financial review for May of 2025. 5B is the Minnesota Council on Local Results and Innovation Performance Measurement Program Report. 5C accepts a proposal from Moore Engineering for a stormwater resilience study. 5D is the approval for a request to declare abandoned property as surplus. 5E approves a gambling permit for the Shakopee Track Club located at Global Restaurant Group LLC doing business as Dangerfields. 5F is also a surplus property. 5G is approval of the City Council meeting minutes for June 3rd. 5H is a modification to the XL Energy Mountain Bike Park Agreement. 5I is a lease with AT&T and its signs which face the top of the park for a communications tower. 5J authorizes final acceptance of payment for the 2024 Downtown Lighting Improvement Project. 5K is an erosion control for bike course at Jackson Common Park. 5L is a contract with SRF to update the West End AUR. And 5O is a modification of the previously approved council safety grant application.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Discussion on the motion? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, public comment. If you're here for an item that is not on our agenda and would like to speak to the city council, now would be your opportunity to do so. Anybody here for an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to item 7. Items removed from the consent agenda. First item was 5M. Councilor Mahoney.
Okay, so 5M, I had just a couple of questions. I know tariffs are kind of constantly in flux right now. So not only for this project, but for other projects, do we have a set way of handling that, or is this just a one-off, or?
Thank you for the question, Councilor Delaney. We don't have an overall arching way of looking at it. We do know that this one has some tariff implications to it. And as such, we don't know whether or not it actually will come to be, but we recognize the fact that there's a great possibility. We want to make sure that council were aware of that and had the ability to say yea or nay if they were willing to move forward with it. But we are watching it. We've had one other case where there was a claim of tariff. We actually pushed back on that. And I don't know, maybe you're back from...
It's no longer on that invoice, so.
Yeah, so they quickly took the tariff fees away from that particular invoice, but we are looking at it case by case, and if we believe it's not legit, then we'll kind of push back.
That's my suggestion, because it's the talk about business in the past few months, so the pushing back has been the first level of defense, and then there are some things that are probably going to be there. I don't think we're going to hit it, but I understand. We have a plan.
And we know that since this has been put forward, that there's been changes from the administration, and they may or may not have an agreement with China at this point. So this is just that safety net, if you will. We really don't know yet.
Thank you, that was my only question.
The one question that comes to my mind is, when we have a contingency in each project,
Correct. Yes.
so is this above and beyond the current contingency?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, because we were just acquiring a structure that we knew the exact dimensions and everything of it, we felt that we didn't need to approve a contingency when we were ordering these materials, with the outset that these tariffs came into play the day after we ordered them and awarded the contract. But most projects do include approval of a 5% contingency, which would cover some of those minor changes. So we're bringing this back before council because there was no contingency approved at that time.
And council will have an opportunity when this is bid to reject it if they so desire, if they're too high or whatever.
Actually, for the purchase of.
This is this purchase. Okay. Okay, so we're past that stage. Good enough. All right. I don't want to say it, but I looked at steel prices when I read this, and I looked at aluminum prices. That's all I'm going to say.
You go back to collecting payments.
I'm not saying a word. Right. All right, let's switch this council.
Yeah, I'd like to authorize the appropriate, make a motion to authorize the appropriate city officials to negotiate a change order up to the maximum amount of $35,000 to the contract with the dock, which doubles into the procurement of materials for the Minnesota Riverbank Protection and Park Integration Project. If that change order arises out an increase in tariffs on steel and aluminum from those that were in effect on June 3rd, 2025. That is a long motion.
One second. We have a motion and a second. Questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5N.
I'm going to pull this actually for the same question you just asked about at the end of the 5 p.m. Should this be under contingency? We're asking for this one.
Mayor and Council, we're in the design phase, so there's no contingency. They have a not to exceed contract, which did not include structure. So as it got into the building, Where's this on the foot of the back wall, so that's what was hiding the damage.
Michael, I think your mic was on.
I can't turn it on.
Who's, Mr. Meyer, you got a question?
you say a foot?
Yeah.
Back
A foot of what?
Back one. Back driveways.
Any other questions? My question is, what you're asking for is just for the engineer, and not what it talks about, the trusses and steel beams and stuff. That's, all we're doing now is the engineer is designing, which not to exceed 25 grand. But finding these things out now, there's gonna be a lot more cost for this, I'm assuming.
Mayor and council, not necessarily. I think that once we get full construction drawings done, then we'll see what the costs are. There was gonna have to be some work done on the livery building no matter what, because you can see it's sagging. I think they'll come up with a better solution. It's all put together right now, but anybody to do some 2x4s. So a truss system might actually be less expensive.
Mr. Whiting?
I mean, a building of this age is gonna have some structural issues. One that's been, obviously, neglected, but boarded up and set aside for us to perfect here in the coming future. So I can understand why it's gonna, we're gonna run into things that, I think it's working.
I think it's working.
So I would make a motion to approve the amendment to contract for the Schrader House and delivery to Miller Dunwoody Architects for the amount not to exceed $25,000 for the structural engineering, authorize the city administrator to sign the modification.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? I'm not a big fan of putting millions into a property that's worth $200,000. But I'll see what the engineer has to say, but I suspect we're going to be in deeper than what the original thought was. And I will not support it when that happens, so. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Gillian?
Do you have a cap on what this renovation is? Overall?
Mayor and council, could you repeat that? Can't hear you.
For the overall renovation of this property, do we have a cap on how much we're?
Mayor and council, I believe the CIP is just over $1 million for both buildings. So the Miller Dunwoody was chosen because they work on historic buildings, and these are two very historic structures, and they have been working with the State Historic Preservation Office as they're doing the drawings to make sure the state and the federal government sign off. If you remember, these are on the National Register of Historic Places.
Was there historical society dollars to this also?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? We can have a motion in a second. Any other questions, comments? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Takes us to 8A, final plat of Bluff View. And if we don't have the overhead, Mr. Kursky, as you walk us through this, if there's a way to make sure we're all on the same page and understanding what you're saying, that would be helpful. And,
Sir, you should be able to see this on the monitor in front of you.
okay.
So Mayor and Council, this is the final plat of Bluffview. Summergate Development has proposed the final plat subdivision of Bluffview located north of Ventura Avenue, adjacent to the Shakopee Public Utilities water tower in the Woodbury neighborhood, and west of the existing Zumbro Avenue. Applicant has proposed the first phase of their single-family residential subdivision of 132 lots on approximately 47 acres. The development would include lots with varying widths, 65 to 42 feet, consistent with the approved PUD amendment, which was approved on March 4th, 2025. So again, this is the site. If you remember, we divided this property into 3 separate parcels. The city already owns this parcel up here as part of this development. This is the commercial industrial portion of the Greenland property. This is the residential portion, and then they carved out this parcel here, which we're in the process of getting appraisal on to acquire for open space. As part of both of these projects, we did acquire the beginning of the bluff and this corner over here. The property is guided suburban residential of 3 to 6 units per acre and park and open space. The proposed plan is consistent with the existing guiding. The site was also included in the approved Western Shakopee area AUAR, and the proposal is generally consistent with that AUAR. So here is the final plat. There'll be 2 plats. You'll see, because this is being done in 2 phases. So the first phase will include construction of 17th Avenue up to Zumbro, and the second piece you'll see hopefully next year. We'll finish the rest of this road and finish building out these parcels. So if you remember, this is being developed by D.R. Horton. We had a big discussion. These are the narrow lots down here. Final plat approval includes conditions on the sewer, water, and roadway being extended from the adjacent property to the east. That's Pellegrini Trail that Pulte's building. They are building the full section of 17th Avenue. They're doing that all as one phase. City engineering has provided conditions for approval, specifically noting the necessary phasing and securities tied to the extension of County Highway 16, but also known as 17th Avenue, and the sanitary sewer system. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions of staff? Mr. Lane?
Can you go back to the picture of outlot A and B? Are those the outlots you mentioned were going to be dedicated to the city?
So, outline A will be the city's, outline B is also the city's. Yes. Those are the open space requirement, and remember this is a PUD with the narrow lots. So 15% of the property has to be dedicated to the city.
Do you know offhand if that's pretty much the hillside, or is it?
It's, Mayor and Council is over here, it is the start of the bluff over here. I think it's better to look at that area.
I did. There you go.
So we're getting this piece over here, which is kind of flat. This is kind of what I would call the toe of the bluff. As we get park development fees for this project, we'll be acquiring the rest of the bluff. If you remember, we've spoken with these 3 property owners, so basically we would have all of the bluff.
Thank you. Other questions of staff? Mr. Kursky, the property to the east, abutting 17th Avenue,
This one here?
correct?
Yes, sir.
Did we have that? We already approved it about there. did we not?
Mayor and Council, you've already approved that final plat, and this right away, I believe this is already under construction for 17th Avenue. This property needs to bring utilities over so they can develop. That's why they're phasing this, because they're also waiting on the to pull the sewer plant on this.
Okay, and then is the plan to use park dedication dollars to acquire the bluff area beyond the outlots?
Mayor and Council, so the city already has acquired this, if you remember, a couple of years ago from the Dykes family. We would then acquire all of this using park development money along with this parcel and the 2 houses, so that we would have 100% of the bluff.
And the parcel that was concerned, that contacted us, they will be able to wait until they're ready for that to happen?
Mayor and Council, correct, we are going to enter into a contract with WSB's Property Acquisition Services. We just got the appraisals for these 3 properties that are going to go out, meet with the property owner to explain their rights under state and federal law, and then talk about whether they want to do a life estate or something.
All right, any other questions for staff? What's the wishes of council? Councilor Contreras?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution R 2025-058, including the final plat for Bluff B.
Is there a second? Mr. Galini? Does our clerk have that? Very good. Discussion on the motion? Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8B, comprehensive plan amendment to figure 411. Kirsch.
Mayor and council, this is the continuing saga with the Met Council. Administrator Reynolds and I have met with them on, I think, 3 occasions now. The last 2 meetings we've met with them. Our sector representative has been there to try and resolve some of the issues with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan amendment that you did approve, the staff supported it when it got back to the Met Council, turned out and actually put us in non-compliance. And we didn't know that the CDA has 2 agreements with the Met Council that then were voided. So we sat down with them again because those 2 projects are under construction and they were withdrawing the money to come up with a solution that would make everybody happy on the Met Council side so we could continue moving forward with their projects and our projects. So the solution is to re-guide 27 acres to mixed-use commercial centers, suburban residential, and mixed residential, and amend figure 4.11 and 4.12 in the comprehensive plan. So the 2040 comprehensive plan includes future land use specifications, guiding a broad pattern of land use. Amendments are necessary as development plans evolve. The Planning Commission held a public hearing to amend the density range for mixed-use commercial center last fall. After City Council approval, the Met Council encouraged another approach to accomplish meeting the density requirements while not creating conflicts with the Regional Housing Policy Plan and Livable Communities Act programs and funding. So here is figure 4.12, so we're going to be amending this. Amending this section over here. So this is how it looks today. This parcel here is all red. It will now be a step parcel, and this will now be mixed residential, the 22 acres, and then because these lots back here, if you remember, there's no alley, we would have to actually guide this little tiny finger to suburban residential, which is over this 5 acres right here. So basically, we're extending the single family up into this area, and the adjacent neighborhood that's townhomes, we're going to bring that land use over onto the property. So that would amend figure 4.12. And then figure 4.11, this is our residential development potential by decade of all land uses. By changing these numbers around, these numbers change slightly in the tables. So a long way to get to a plan. So City Council can approve an amendment when the original comp plan and zoning ordinance is in error. There's not really an error here. Significant changes in community goals and policy have taken place. There have been changes in community goals and policies, including supporting infill development and redevelopment. And then there's also been significant changes in development patterns that have occurred. So Planning Commission held a public hearing and recommended approval at their June 5th meeting with a 6-0 vote. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of staff? Mr. White.
Since we don't have any visuals tonight, I just want to point out that and correct me if there's more to this than this, but we're looking at the Shakopee gravel pit potential development.
Yes, sir.
And nothing else. Unless, other than the number of facts that the Met Council look at. There's no other development in question right now.
Mayor and Council, that's correct. It was a very long discussion with Mr. Reynolds and his staff and their staff and our Deb Barber, who's our regional representative, to try and come up with a solution. Because unbeknownst to us, the CDA had used Met Council funding for their projects here, and by us going out of compliance, since they're not a member of the Met Council, they went out of compliance. So this was a simpler solution than amending the whole comp plan in the mind of the Met Council, just to fix this site. And Mr. Reynolds kind of stressed to the Met Council people, let's try and keep things simple instead of making them super complicated. So I think this was a better solution than their first suggestion. It doesn't change the whole city, doesn't throw us out of compliance, and solves their problem, not It was not a city issue or a county issue, it's strictly a paperwork issue with my council.
And Mr. Kursky is being very generous about the meetings and what occurred. So we originally came to you and you approved what the Met Council told us we should do. And then the Met Council says, no, you can't do that because we're going to punish the county and the CDA who has 2 projects because you are now out of compliance. And our response was, well, wait a minute. You told us what to do and we did it and council approved it. So needless to say, I was a little animated.
That's a nice word.
Yeah, I was animated with the bureaucracy that, so essentially we're coming back to you now after several long meetings to, once again, this is what they're telling us to do. And we hope that at this point that it will satisfy their internal bureaucratic controls and we'll be fine. Regional secretary.
So, we had a conversation on the west end, which this council came to a unanimous compromise, which we adopted. And that threw the Met Council for a loop. Is that?
That would be a nice way of saying it.
So.
Yes, sir.
So what you're really telling me is that we as an elected body for this community can't make development decisions representing our community. The Met Council has to do that for us.
What's our comp plan?
I would say this, we could go ahead and do what we did. The unintended consequences is the Met Council over on this side, then we'll take the money away from Scott County. So they're not saying you can't do what we did, but the unintended consequences is all of the millions of dollars that they pledged to projects in Shakopee for the CDA will be pulled back because now we're out of compliance.
Well, I'm very simple. It sounds like blackmail to me. Sorry. I need to understand. Ace of spades is an ace of spades.
It's even worse because it's not our projects that are being affected.
Right.
It's the county and the CDA. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I can understand, okay, so we're out of compliance on something and the council makes a decision and then we live with that decision and then, okay, you want to punish us. I get that. But then you're essentially punishing by withdrawing funds from
Great
great projects, 2 organizations that have nothing to do with this. So yes, you know, I've been very animated through this particular process, and at one point I wrote the 2 words "common sense" on the board in the meeting, and I said we're going to look at these words and we're going to follow these words. And it was extremely. I don't know. I think I'll just.
Well, it's really nice that they get to tax us without any kind of representation too, so.
So Mayor, I think the nice way of putting Mr. Reynolds is that the Met Council staff and the city staff have worked up a compromise that doesn't impact the rest of the city, that I think everyone on the 2 sides is okay with. They will not impact Scott County, it does not really change the comp plan, and we can move forward.
It doesn't change the actions that we unanimously compromised on the west side.
So that, the Met Council pulled that, your original action back because you can't have 2 competing actions. So this would be the only action that they'll approve.
So the action that the compromise, unanimous compromise this council took is being revoked, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Not revoked. We can't do this, which does not throw us out of compliance, while also doing the other. So the other action that you unanimously took throws the city out of compliance with the Met Council.
And the real impact is not to us, but it is to 2 great projects that the CDA and the county, one project each year we're doing, to no fault of their own. And so it is an exceptionally trying situation. But that being said, we did spend a lot of time and we're able to finally cobble this together to where it appears that the Met Council will accept it, although frankly, I will say, I don't know if they will or not until it goes up and they actually vote on it. But the staff of the council says they're willing to support this.
The mayor and the council still has to go to the full Met Council board for approval. But their staff and our sector rep have said that they would support this change.
Mr. Whiting?
What does this do to Mr. Noder related costs to his project?
And there's no impact whatsoever. This is, as Mr. Reynolds has nicely said, this is strictly colors on the piece of paper so that the Met Council can sign off on it. This really has really no impact to anyone except that. And unfortunately, the unintended consequence of, if we don't do this, the Met Council has notified the CDA that they will forfeit their funds, that they have projects already under construction. So I think this is literally just putting some different colors on the paper so that they can check a box.
Mr. Whiting?
I want to support our CDA project in our downtown community. I think it's great. I think it's already worked out before it's even done. So with that, I move on to discussion. I move to adopt a resolution, our 2025-070, approving a comprehensive plan amendment to re-guide approximately 27 acres of PID 279160102 and 279160110 from mixed-use commercial center to suburban residential, mixed residential, and amend figure 4.11 to reflect the proposed changes for each classification.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. So I'm still not clear on what this action does to our compromise on the west end.
Well, Mayor and Council wasn't on the West End. What we did was change the density throughout the city, which is what caused us to be out of compliance with the company.
So are we undoing that change across the city?
You are not undoing that. You are substituting what you voted for several months ago with this. And everything else stays the same until we bring forward a new 2050 comp plan in 2 years.
Okay. Last question I have. Do we have a developer on the site?
We have a very interested party that got all of the numbers today.
Okay. And if that developer wants to change up some of what we're looking at tonight, what happens then?
So Mayor and Council, if you remember when this was approved, you approved not only the preliminary plat, you approved the PUD so they can't. They have to go with what's already been approved. And they understand that. We went through all the plans with them and they're fine. Again, this is not on your side, this is strictly on the council paperwork.
And frankly, I appreciate your willingness to, try to find a solution on something that you spent a lot of time on and reach a good compromise on. And frankly,
And Mayor,
we have no control over it.
Mr. Reynolds has been kept his cool way beyond because it's just literally, moving tables and colors and they just have not. The staff, I think, have tried, but further up the staff have not wanted to cooperate. It's been very frustrating for everyone.
I do want to publicly thank Deb Barber for all the effort that she's put into this. She's very much been willing to sit down and have her staff come in and sit down with us at multiple meetings. And I honestly don't think if it wasn't for her
You would not be.
we would not have a solution. So again, I want to thank her for all of her efforts.
My last comment would be, this is, we talked a lot about the loss of local control potential at the state house during this legislative session. And this is what happens when there's a loss of local control. Granted, it's not at the state level, it's at the Met Council level, but the end result is the same. And it's very unfortunate. This is not how our form of government is designed to work. So, Mr. Twenty?
So, from what I understand is when we get around to doing the 2050 comp plan, we can rearrange the colors on the west end maybe to reflect some other numbers and change the balance.
Well, I think, Mayor and Councilman, if you remember, the unfortunate thing is going into the 2050 comp plan, which has to be done within the next 2 years, they had actually increased region-wide the density from 3 buildings an acre to I think 3.5 to 4, which is, there's some communities that just, you can't do that if they don't have the capacity. It's been, just this discussion was frustrating, I can't imagine how it's been.
So the new colors on the map, okay.
Well, it depends on what their new requirements are, and as we see, the requirements change on the go, so nobody really knows. We just organizing this. Unbelievable. All right.
Mayor, I'm glad you sense our frustration.
I'm being polite too, so. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Commissioner Brennan, I guess you guys aren't gonna lose your funding, but they'll take it somewhere else, I suppose.
Let's see.
Item 9, liaison reports and administration reports. Mr. Lark?
Yes, okay. Picnic on the police on the 9th, great event, it's bigger and bigger every year. On the June 4th, backing up, the school board held a special district financial outlook meeting and the cliff notes of that. And so I'm going to give this package to administrators in the email, email it out to you all so you can read it. The 2026-2027 school year, we will be facing almost a $9 million deficit. And so what they were the couple options that they have is there's a building levy that's going to be coming up for expiration, and what they're hoping to do is a cost neutral levy with moving over to operational. That would then decrease their deficit to like $3 million. And then they're tossing around a second option, which is called going to the cap. And what that means is they're going to go to the ceiling of what they're going to legally be allowed to ask for on the levy. And I believe that was 6%. The second question would be an additional $288 per pupil in an operating levy on top of the $620 already that would be generated should the voters approve the tax neutral first question. The $288 would bring Shakopee Public Schools to the cap or the limit for a school district operating levy. That would then we'd bring the deficit down to $1 million, and then they set up that meeting that the $1 million would be, they would be able to find that easily with the decline of enrollment, whether it's eliminating teachers or moving stuff around. They would be able to find $1 million a lot easier than the 3 and the 5. So.
Questions on that? I'm a little confused. So if you have a building levy that expires, or paid for and expires, and you put out a new levy, and if that first question passes, you would be paying the same as if you were paying on the original.
That's correct.
Building levy.
Yes.
And that would cover all but $3 million of the $9 million. Correct?
Yes.
So that's over $6 million. The second question will be to cover $3 million.
Yes.
And we knew the first question was neutral. What does the second question do? Because it doesn't seem like 3 million. Bond referendum asked, but that would be for how many years?
Not sure how many years. Yeah.
So it'd be 30 million.
So what they're saying is that second question, so that they could, the first one could pass and the second one could not. Another discussion was that they would just do one question and just go ask for the cap. If they just ask for that all in one lump sum. So it has not been approved or discussed yet outside of this meeting. This is just a presentation, school board meeting.
Did they have an estimate on impact on the average property?
I'm sure it's in this package here.
You take that off.
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head.
All right. And that information is probably available.
So Bill's gonna stand up.
I'll send this all out.
Well, I'm assuming it's available to the public on the school.
Oh, yeah, go to their,
Their board packets or something.
yeah, their agenda packet, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
That's it.
Congrats.
Mayor, on Monday, the night I did attend the great turnout. It's good to see all the constituents out there. And then on the 13th, I did attend the STILL meeting where Southwest Metro Intermediate District, presented by Superintendent Jeff Horton. He did his presentation. And then after that, there was a 2025 legislative session update. Lobbyist Tony Albright facilitated the discussion with state reps and senators. They talked about everything that happened, things that did it, and what we can expect over the next several months. And there was a lot to talk about. With that, and then this little blurb that I just want to let you know that tomorrow, the Met Council had invited us to Met Council on the road. So tomorrow, June 18th, at the Chaska event, we want to go out there and let them know something.
Get arrested, maybe?
Just a reminder.
Thank you, Councilman Harris. Councilman White?
No, thank you. The 9th, STA board met along with the executive board of the MBTA, discussing our issues with our Burnsville bus garage modernization project. Engineer might have got into soil issues, some severe soil. We're going to have to dig a lot. It's going to cost us more than $3 million. So we're going to talking about tonight. Some projects can really get into some issues, as you've seen in Chicago as well. Right at the current, the Burnsville bus garage. Also, look, we're seeking $35.5 million in Central Transportation Authority money for Scott County mobility campus, to build more transit out here in Scott County. I'm not sure it would shock me, but I think it should be. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we're looking at funds from the federal government for that. Other than that, the MBTA, I don't know if you do this, is the second largest transit organization in Minnesota. And I want to mention and thank the MBTA group for continually working with our Shakopee businesses and groups to become better out here in Shakopee.
Make them connections.
Yeah, make those connections, and of course that MBTA Connect is really growing out here. Where you just go on the app and call a ride, and it's there within 20 minutes or so. So you don't have that app yet, but that's really growing in Shakopee. It's not all.
Which one were they looking for support, letter of support for federal funding? Is that on the Scott?
That came through
Today.
Yeah, so that I believe is going to Mr. Reynolds, and I believe that was the Scott County. There's a couple projects. So if you can handle that, that's absolutely.
So that might be coming back to council for support on that, or do they just want?
I think we can just go ahead and have you sign it, we are on behalf of the council.
All right.
One of those letters of support for growing our footprint out here in the area.
And before the meeting, I was talking to Councilman White about that email specifically in that project. I want to get his take on it, whether it's something you wanted to support or not.
Absolutely.
You're the guy that knows more about that than I do, that's probably pointed you to it, and, we'll support it, I'll absolutely support it.
You know, Shakopee hasn't had as much of a transit footprint as we'd like, and sometimes it just takes the right route and getting people on the app or whatever it is. And the Connect is that whole here at Shakopee, so it takes some time to get some traction. But if you don't know about MBTA Connect, really take a look. I can get you a ride. I know Councilor Delaney's working with some of his constituents, and they have the app. So,
What I really like about the bus concept, and I've said this before, is whether, even if it's your express routes or your local routes, they're adaptable, they're flexible. I mean, if there's things that change, you can change your route, it doesn't cost any money to do that. You have the infrastructure costs and stuff, and I mean, that's a good use of tax dollars when you can change up and be flexible of an added cost where really you can't do it, it's here or there, and it's just too bad.
you talk about flexibility. I think some of the, I'm not sure if that's in the documents that was said, I'd have to look at it again, but we're talking about some of the electric buses and some of the hybrid buses to get some grant funding for that as well. And it's not always available. We actually got some European buses that didn't have enough made in the USA kind of credits that we get federal dollars for, but we are looking at more opportunities.
But you know, when you have deployment centers change or whatever, it's really easy on the map just to take the existing route that has dropped ridership and move it on a map to where it's now really full of ridership, and so it's really serving the public well, and it's flexible to be able to do that, and there's not a whole lot of additional cost to do that. So
Perfect example is the 420 bus that only operates to most of our Shakopee attractions during the summer. Canterbury, Valley Fair's taking advantage of that, and some other sites too. So, and also the service for the Renaissance Festival. And we're doing those special events as well as some of those other liberties.
MBTA has been exceptional in working with the community and working with the businesses in Shakopee. And as you laid out, Councilor Whiting, you know, anytime we need something. They're also great if we've got an event, you know, for example, it's December, it's cold, they're going to have a bus out there to warm us up during the first weekend in December in downtown Jersey.
Our Shakopee Lions Club bus to shuttle some of their people from the ice golf trip.
Yes, exactly. So
We're doing good partners.
they're excellent partners, and Luther and his team are just phenomenal to work with.
Thank you.
very good, thank you, Councilor Whiting. Mr. Delaney?
Okay, speaking of police, I think that also with a lot of the mayor. Always a great turnout. Thank you to the police department for all they do. Thank you for the community partners and city staff for that. It's always a successful event. St. Vincent Grand Opening, I think that was in between.
June 6th.
Yes, so that was another great event. Thank you, Administrator, for the fire, for city staff, everything else. That's another great turnout. That was a really fun event. Also, the food is great. Every time you watch that, I love the fries. I'm a new fries fan over there. So, okay, Wesley's time does not have a meeting this month. The next meeting is July. Checking for the utilities. We did have this workshop. We talked about nitrate testing. All of our wells are, the one's kind of just above the 5. There's 10, the limit's 10 for EPA, but we're not up at that level. So we're still trying to figure out who that we're mixing our additional testing. Getting no wells above EPA limits. Talked about a communication plan for emergencies. That came up in one of the conferences we went to the year before, and actually put a plan in place for different scenarios. They are going to run a tabletop exercise every 2 years. Go through this kind of exercise, that plan. IT security review, definitely improvement on security. And as far as other activities, Community Resource Center, they had their 4th year anniversary. I had a chance to attend that. That was, I think it was great. Everybody was pretty fun. But they were found out about the organization. And I think that's it. Outside of that, I did get communications about our backflow prevention, and I will look into that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's it.
Very good, thank you. June 4th, I attended the MLC Municipal Legislative Commission, north side of town, according to Ford stuff. Long meeting, a lot of discussion about what was what's happening at the State House, what passed, what didn't pass. We'll be here all night talking about that. A lot of the local control things that this council and staff were concerned with did not pass, which was good. The no minimum parkings did not pass. That's outstanding because that's a mess in making. Staff eventually will put together a basic list of the items that affect Shakopee and let us all kind of know the art. So a lot of these items aren't specific, where it's, some of them were more specific to other communities. So pull out the pieces of the straw bale that affect Shakopee and update council on that. June 6th was Sand Ventures grand opening with the Pirate Bill, and kids had a blast, by the way. So that's some of us older kids. June 9th, picnic with the police at Lions Park was smashing success. Hart was there and some other ministries. A lot of collaborative efforts went into that, and it was awesome. So fun was had by all. June 12th, I did a ride-along with DSI, Dick Sanitation, that has a contract for Shakopee.
Did you tag him back in the truck?
You know, we talked about the old days, but no, there's no hanging on the back of the truck. The technology is pretty unbelievable, actually. The truck don't move without the seatbelt on. So, a lot of cameras, a lot of push pad button stuff. And you get to see the little things that you never think about two carts that are so close together that the little hand can't get between them to pick it up. Or some of the old Shakopee alleys have unique challenges too. It was kind of an eye-opening experience. I never ride with Mr. Mather. I had to go to school when I was a kid, so I knew him and his family. But he's been with the company for a long time. He's probably the old hand and very productive because he knows his routes well. So a lot of fun on safety. The safety of that truck is unbelievable. It is a compressed natural gas truck. So it's kind of cool. They just sent me an email asking if I wanted to go ride on. I said, sure. Didn't get paid. Administration report.
A couple things, Mr. Mayor, members of council. First of all, I'm going to propose that we do not have a meeting on 1 July for several reasons. One, it doesn't appear that we have much that looks like it would be on the agenda, and that county would be largely a missing staff. So I think we can certainly do anything we need to do on the second meeting in July if the council is amenable to that. The second thing is, and once again, this is based upon, I think it was the mayor's idea, about announcements. And so we have our first announcement page. Initially, we were trying to put it on the agenda itself. And Rick tried messing with that and just decided the best thing to do was to put it on its own kind of agenda items. And, you know, I'll just run through this right now. Yes, sir.
Before you do that, let's do 9A. And we'll get to 9B, which is news and announcements.
Okay.
Because he was successful in putting it on the agenda. Thank you. 9A, an issue with the city bill list. 9B, news and announcements. Mr. Reynolds.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Here we are. So again, this was something that the mayor had thought about, and you know, we were trying to figure out how to make it happen. But you know, Rick was able to come up with this, and essentially this is a joint effort between the clerk's office and the communications. And you know, if I can, I'll just run through some of this stuff. We have a new website, in case you don't know. It's been redesigned and it's all up and running. If you find a problem, please let us know, because you know, we've had lots of eyes on it. I just found some stuff today that we corrected. So if you find something, please let us know and we will fix that. Sand Venture Aquatic Park grand opening. Great fun had by all. Unfortunately, Pirate Bill died. So 19 nights coming up. It's August 5th, which is normally our meetings, but on this particular date, we moved it to the 6th. So our August meeting in August will be on the 6th. But register for 19 night. If you need more information, please see our website. We have all kinds of volunteer events available through Park and Recreation. Please look at those opportunities on their website. Rhythm on the Rails tomorrow. First concert. Administration has the first gig having manning the tent for the city, and so I and other members of the administration team will be at Rhythm on the Rails tomorrow night. Come by, get a sticker, and ask us about the social districts, and we'll explain to you what's happening for social districts.
Who's playing tomorrow?
It's
Zeller.
Martin Zeller with the tribute to
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
Right before, like, it brings a lot of people.
Oh yeah, so it'll be rocking tomorrow night. So come and hang out. We'll give you a sticker. And then of course we've got all kinds of street projects going on. You can come onto our website, look there. You can see exactly what's happening in your neighborhood. If you have a question that's not available, feel free to give us a call. I will tell you whether or not it's one of our projects or if it's something else going on. So this you will see from now on. Great idea.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on that? But I want to make note, I brought my calendar for the Hubert Park series.
Oh yeah.
And June 19th is the Tuxedo Band coming up. I'm not sure their cover band, but I want to point out June 26th, 7 p.m., the Minnesota Valley Beauty Band. They were the first band to grace the stage in Hubert Park, and of course it's so she's a percussionist for the band. So there is no concert on July 3rd because of the holiday. And then we follow it up July 10th with Mitchell Hall, the Tennessee Trio. And the list goes on for the summer. I'll keep this up here. We can bring them up as they come up.
Very good.
Mitchell Hall and the Tennessee Trio are a cover band of Johnny Cash, and they are phenomenal.
Oh, cool. I think good, great things happening in Shakopee, as usual. It sets us apart. All right, back to the agenda. News and announcements, other business, item 10, other business, Mr. Larson.
I would like to propose that we consider host or doing a monthly workshop session. I know there's other cities that do them in correlation with their city council meetings. And I think what would help is give us an opportunity to have off the agenda conversations on various topics that pop up from time to time. I know we do host workshops throughout the year if something comes up big project-wise, but I think this will give us an opportunity for us to sit together and talk about other issues in an open meeting forum, and that's not directed by an agenda. What my proposal is that it would be something that would be attached to one of our Tuesday meetings, and it would be an hour, but like 5:30 to 6:30, and so there's a start and stop, hard stop, and then it gives time for a small break, and then go into our regular council meeting that Tuesday. So it's something to consider as I do. I found other cities do them, and I always wondered why we never maybe did, and maybe we have done that in the past, I don't know, but just wanted to get your guys' feedback and thoughts on that.
We typically do it when we have a particular item that we'd like to discuss. But I understand that if I'm understanding what you're asking for, if we're mechanical and get together, that's within the boundaries of the legal side where we can actually get together and do some, an hour, you ask about whatever's on your mind. Is not a bad idea. I don't know what happened. I don't think it needs to happen every single month. But yeah, I like the idea.
Every other month, it's something, because yeah, something that I think from.
And I don't know that we need to put staff out for that either. I think we could have get together and have whatever's required by law at any rate. And then just have our fun, and if something, if we feel strongly about something that comes out of that discussion or that meeting, we can always bring it up under other business than the regular agenda and say we'd like staff to take a look at this.
Right, yeah, it would be like a no action taken.
Right.
Type deal.
Yep. What's staff's comments on it, Mr. Whiting?
I do a lot of meetings with no agenda. I don't want to go to too many more, so I'm going to want to make sure we have the time to talk about.
I think legally there has to be an agenda.
Mr. Mayor, Member of Council, what you're talking about is a special meeting, it's a meeting of the council, it's a special meeting. The state law does require that for special meetings, you only discuss things that are on the agenda. Unlike tonight, when it's a regular meeting, you can, at the beginning of the meeting, you can add things to the agenda, and you can take things off, but for a special meeting, you need to have an agenda, and you can only talk about those topics. So there's some mechanics that you have to work through to accomplish what you're discussing.
I'm not sure how to, because I know the city of Jordan, for example, does them. Plymouth does them. I don't know how they all work. I've never listened to one or two one.
Not for me.
If I could offer a suggestion, maybe we could like workshop park and rec, or public works, or workshop fire department, maybe down there and see how they're working in some of the new innovations and things like that, or the new plow truck, kind of, or some issues that might be happening.
I asked staff to put together a special meeting, joint meeting with the county, to discuss various things within the city and the county. So that's coming. And it's there.
And even topics with our clubs in town, we want to give a report of what they're doing in town, and maybe we have a workshop, or we have some of those come in and give us an overview of what's happening in there, you know. So we're wondering.
I just have the idea, I don't know how to form the details or.
Yeah, I'm just going to spitball on you too, so.
If you want to have just a discussion about Shakopee in general, that, Mr. Thompson, if we want to, let's say we're out, we find three of us at Rhythm on the Rails watching a concert. To talk about how wonderful this concert is not a problem, right?
No problem. That's not the city.
Okay?
Hey, okay.
So I understand what Councilor Lara is trying to accomplish, and that camaraderie built between council, and it's one of the things that also apparently wants you to have. It's kind of weird, you know? It's unfortunate, but absolutely, I do want to have a joint meeting with the county. I'd like to see that one happen first. And if there's, we said it early on, if there's ever a topic that a member of this body feels that we need to have a workshop on, say it at a regular meeting under other business, and the body decide if the majority wants to do that, and if they do, we will do that. The only time I would call a special meeting or an emergency meeting will be, we have to have an emergency, right? And that would be predicated on staff. Obvious things, frameworks,
Budget meeting.
well, we have them, we have them, but it's a regular meeting specifically for that. But special meetings do have a topic. Like I said, the first one I asked staff to put together is a joint meeting with the county. We can discuss our differences in philosophy on road access. We can talk about all kinds of differences. And just because we have differences isn't bad. People looking at things from different perspectives. The state lights in highway go with no at-grade crossings, they're spending money to take them all out. If they would have had that policy 30, 40 years ago when they built one of these roads, they would have to come back and spend all the money to change it. But population drives that. Mr. White.
I would say our workshop with Jackson Township holds a lot of value to them and us. I think we could workshop with Brookville Township, the county mentioned, looks at other opportunities. I think we had a workshop with ambulance service, I don't know if it was a workshop, just a presentation. But, those things maybe we could send out like a workshop, business. Just thoughts.
Okay. Well, everybody think it over and staff know what you're thinking, but recognize our statutory requirements.
And I will mention that 5:30 would be a good thing. Worth working with that.
Yeah. I will say, if we're gonna have a special meeting on a specific topic, it's hard to get a whole lot out of that in a very short period of time, and then go into a regular night agenda, you almost only have to set. So you can focus more on the holiday. So, all right, we'll appreciate your input. Do you have a specific item that you'd like to workshop on? Okay. Hold on, his pins. If you can go into the wall and see if we can figure out how to make that work. I'm not very good at it. All right, very good. Any other business? Mr. White?
If there's, I would make a motion to adjourn to, maybe July 15th.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Second?
Second by Mr. Delaney, is there any discussion on the motion? Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes, we're adjourned.